Hello there. This is actually going to be a bit of a different video than I usually do, but I'm procrastinating, and I'll get to that in a bit. But this is a sort of podcast, I guess, with one person, and it's more detailing what's going on in my life, like month by month. Figured it might be like a little nice side project or something. And it's going to have, less editing, so it's going to be more of something you can listen to on the go without having to look at the images. And it's also more of a video for me rather than for you guys. I mean, you can watch it if you want. I don't know what's very interesting about my life in particular, but it's just supposed to be more like cataloging. And again, I'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, I'm going to be making these videos a little bit, and you can probably tell that this is a little less scripted than usual. I'll be stuttering and mumbling and probably just falling over my words. Having to use and ums every so often just to catch my, headspace and catch up with the words that are coming into my brain. So it's going to be annoying for everybody else that's watching this video and not me, because I'm used to thinking like this. So let's go into how the podcast actually works. So every month or so, it's going to be a very vague timetable because I want to do it every month, and then it's probably going to be like, oh no, this month I had a lot of work than I expected, so I might have to push it back. So it's going to be about every month, maybe every 2 months. So we'll see. And it's going to have no script at all. I mean, there are topics right next to me that I talk about, but the topics themselves, they're not very descriptive. It's just like bring up one of these classes, or bring up a project you're working on. So it's not going to be anything like crazy. It's just going to be a general thing to remind me what I'm talking about, because God forbid my memory is awful. So it's just going to be like a informal, colloquial thing. It's not going to be like one of my other videos where, I don't know, I'm going to throw in a random fact. I mean, I can throw in random facts. I mean, I know a lot of facts, so I can probably throw in one or two. But it's not going to be like a usual video where I have it all planned out and I'm ready to give you a source right off the bat. So yeah, this actually goes in line with something I was telling one of my roommates, and it was that as a child I always wanted to catalog everything I knew, and they brought up something to me that I had never really thought of before, and I've been thinking about it, and it's the fact that, like, what do you catalog when you know things? Like, there's a line between, like, science and math and knowing those things versus knowing, like, every individual detail of your life. And I sometimes I find it hard to remember what I was doing, like, I don't know, like 3 hours ago. It's just hard, especially when you have a lot of work to do. So I think this series will help me, map off my thoughts, and if in 2 years when I'm like, I don't know what I did in my sophomore year, I can just look back at this video and be like, oh yeah, I did that, and I really hated that class, and that teacher was a jerk. So, yeah, as you can tell, like I said before, you can already probably tell the less structured nature of this video. So the warning is to click off now if you're not me, and if you are me, I'm sorry in advance for like how much time I'm gonna waste just doing this. And that's another thing, is that in this video, I know in my main videos I have a tendency to get off topic, but that doesn't exist in this video because there is no topic. I mean, there's a script of things for me to do, a list of things for me to talk about, but those aren't it's just there to help me. It's not going to be the exact script of this video, and it's just kind of like there temporarily. I mean, I'm going to add on to it and probably talk and get off on long tangents, so we'll see how that works out. I mean, this is the first video, it's experimental. Maybe as we go on, I'll have more rules to myself to wrangle myself in and not become like a jumbled word spaghetti as I am right now. But I think the best place to start off in this series is to recap what's been happening so far. So if you guys don't know, or if you, future me, looking at this video doesn't know, I am currently a sophomore. It's my first semester of my sophomore year of college. I've been all of high school, and now I'm at college. I went through my freshman year. Freshman year was really bad because, it was all general classes. It wasn't stuff I was interested in. And, let's springboard into my, major and minors. What am I actually going and attempting to do here? It should be known that I am on full scholarship, so I'm not paying for any of the stuff here. Thank God. I mean, I'm not poor, and I'm not, horribly, off. I know there's a lot of people in America that probably have it worse than me, but I certainly don't have enough money to be paying to colleges who, overprice themselves. So I'm taking as many classes as I can, And saying that, I'm getting about 6 different things. I am getting a major in computer science and computer engineering, because if you couldn't tell, I'm really into technology, and I would really like to know how it works on both the software and hardware end. And then I'm going to get a minor in mathematics and data analytics, so that'll also be something there. And then I'm going to get a concentration in cybersecurity. And the school's, been talking about getting a game design concentration, so I might also get that. So that'll be like the 6 things with like computer science, computer engineering, mathematics, data analytics, cybersecurity, and game design. Because a lot of people, like my parents and stuff, and several of my peers, they're like, well, what's the point of getting all these majors? Couldn't you take more major-specific classes? And I'm taking a lot of major-specific classes. Like, there's a lot of computer science classes I plan to take. I'm having like a 20-plus hour schedule, so it's not like I'm just disregarding my main majors. But it's like, I want all the doors to be open when I eventually get out into the world. I have no idea what I want to do, and I've always thought it was kind of, I don't know, not stupid, but it was kind of weird when adults told you as a child, it's like, you will have to pick something soon, and you will have to stay with that for the rest of your life. If you want to be a firefighter, but you went to school as an astronaut, well, you better give up on that dream. Or, vice versa. I mean, if I wanted to do something in, cooking, and I got bored of cooking after a year, because I get bored of things easily. I mean, I'm not going to be, like, entertained by the same thing over a year. Then it's going to really suck. Because, I went to school for culinary arts. You don't have to go to school for culinary arts, but a lot of the things I'm interested in, like mathematics, computer science, those higher level jobs that involve those and solving those problems usually do require, like, college knowledge, and I'd like to know all that stuff. So I've always been kind of, skeptical of, like, oh, well, you stick to one job and stay with it. So I am building up as many things as possible so that I can, kind of branch out. Because I love computer science. I don't know if I'll ever get bored of it. But, I would like to go into different fields, maybe try it out. And, I always told myself that if, I get bored of computer science, like after 20 or so years, I can just retire and go into politics. The only requirement to be a politician is lying. And, that was kind of a joke, but it's also kind of not of a joke. I'm not going to get into politics right now. But, yeah, so that's the reason why my major and minor list is so long. And now, without that all the way, I can talk about my my schedule this year. I've been creating a Excel sheet to keep track of what I need to take and what I need to do, and sometimes I have to shift it around, but it's generally more scripted than this video, at least. So this year I've been taking discrete mathematics, and that was pretty cool. I'm taking it with a guy named Riek. He's pretty cool. I really like him. I think he is a great teacher. He really delves into the abstract, and sometimes he can be like a jerk. He has a tendency to, like, you'll ask a question, he thinks it's obvious, so he gives you a kind of sarcastic answer, but it's not anything bad, because, like, after he gives a sarcastic answer, I think he feels a little bit bad, and he'll go into detail about, like, how the answer actually is. So that's pretty cool. And then I have linear algebra. I wish I could say as many nice things for that class. So, unlike discrete mathematics, there's a very fun math class. Cal 2 from my last, or Cal 2 and Cal 3 from my last few semesters really killed my love for math. I used to really love it, and then I got in college, and I was like, holy crap, I hate this. So, I was afraid that I would never like math again, and I got into discrete, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then I got into linear, and I was like, oh, yep, this reminds me of Cal 2. So, she is not a bad person. I'm not going to say her name, because I feel like if I'm bad talking somebody, I'm not going to exactly say the name. It's going to be really awkward if they find it. No hate to her, but she has the personality of gray and beige mixed together, like a saltine cracker. And it's nothing on her end. It's just, I guess it's her teaching style I'm not very fond of, especially when she goes into all the abstract stuff, but it's like really abstract. We're talking like theorems, and I'm not very good with theorems. I'm good with you give me the definition of it, and then an example, and I'm like, oh, I can connect those. And then you give me instead you give me a theorem, and then an example. I'm like, okay, I see what you did in the example. I don't get how that applies to theorem, and I don't know how to really apply that overall. Anyways, I'm taking that class. So, I'm also taking computer organization. Now, the guy who teaches that, Pang, is known for being a very, very hard teacher. And yes, he is. It's a very complicated class, but right now we're building a CPU, like a CPU straight from logic gates. So we're building our way up, and I really wish I could say that I knew it. I know some of it. It's not too far off to say that I know vaguely what a CPU is and how to build some of the components, but it's still rather hard. So, and I've been thinking about making a video over that, and a lot of the stuff on my YouTube channel, I kid you not, I make videos over so I can remember, aka this one. I made this video so I can remember what the heck I was doing last month, because God forbid, I can't even remember what I was doing yesterday. So, all these videos are helping me remember. Maybe I'll make a video on how to build your own CPU, theoretically. I don't know if I can actually build one. I still haven't learned how to solder yet. I need to learn how to do that. We haven't done that because of, can I say COVID? Can I say coronavirus now? Is that still getting people demonetized? Whatever, I don't have monetization. I don't have enough subs. Anyways, the point being, I would like to, do a video about that and, kind of reinforce what I have learned in class. Also, excuse me, because I will have to be taking a lot of water. I'm talking a lot, and I have dry mouth, TMI, so it's going to be a lot of taking water breaks. Alright, the next one is diff EQ. So, in terms of, I'm taking 3 maths this semester. In terms of, where that fits in between discrete and linear, it's right in the middle. There's some things I'm like, oh, this is really cool. We're learning Laplacian transformations. That's so cool. You can't solve it in this domain, so you take it into a different domain. And instead of relying on time and space, relies on some complex variable s. And you solve it there, and then you take it back to your old domain. So you're basically, reconstructing a new universe to create, your own answer in. And that's really cool. And then it's okay, now you're going to do a huge problem that will give you a 4-term answer, with each term being e to the t plus sine of t. It's awful. Nobody wants to do that. But, the stuff's interesting. So, it's better than linear. I don't know if I can say it's better than discrete, especially since discrete, it's doing a lot towards my major. We're learning Euclidean algorithms, so we can now, create simple stuff to get prime numbers, and that involves a lot in cybersecurity and cryptology. DivEQ is a little bit less like that. I think you use it a little bit in electrical engineering and circuits and stuff, and I touch on that briefly in computer engineering, but it's not as useful as discrete in terms of my goals. So those are all my math classes. What about my other classes? So I'm also in paradigms. And you'll hear me talk about paradigms later, because I have a rant about that. We'll go in a bit about that. I was actually going to have a huge rant about that, and then it kind of got fixed, and we'll talk more about that. But I have paradigms, which is we have Programming Foundations 1, Programming Foundations 2, and you have paradigms, which is the third one. And you go over, in paradigms, or Programming Foundations 1 and 2, you talk about C++, and in paradigms, you talk about Java, and then you talk about JavaScript, and then Python, and Android. There's a lot of stuff. I'm in the honors version, so I have to talk about Android. So there's a lot of stuff. There's 4 different languages you learn, and we've been doing a lot in Java. We had to recreate Mario. Recreated it in quotation marks. You can't see me because I'm doing the podcast, but I'm putting quotation marks up because it's a really crappy version of Mario. So it's not very good, but we're learning the basics of Java, how to use graphical stuff, because we haven't done graphical stuff yet. C++, it's very hard to use graphical stuff, and there's actually a very good story I have about that later in my my little script, my little list of things to talk about here. But we've been doing that, and she's a very harsh grader. Again, gonna get into that later. And right now we're doing JavaScript. We're making our own little website, no CSS, but we're getting into CSS later throughout the semester, so it's gonna be cool. And then finally, my last class, which I think is the coolest class of them all, is Game Design 1, Honors Game Design 1, Honors Colloquium Game Design 1. A mouthful of a title for a class, but guess what we learn how to do in there? We learn how to design games. Insane, I know. So it's a world literature class, so it's a little bit out of my field. We learn about not just the coding that goes behind games, but the mechanics, the story, the art. We learn about the tetrad, which I just listed, and how that works. So we had to read the Odyssey. I had to reread the Odyssey. And by reread, I look up the Spark Notes on it, so that's pretty cool. And, it's alright. We code games. I'm coding a game. I'm not very fond of it right now. I like the class. I really enjoy the class because it's giving me a taste of what game design is. But to say that I'm very motivated to do all my tasks is very much a lie. So, in fact, I'm doing this right now to procrastinate on coding a game in Unity. I'm not a very big fan of Unity right now. I don't really like their layout, their design. Their coding's not horrible. I think it's a little bit messy, but I can deal with it. There's a lot of libraries, and like built-in collections. But that's not the point. The point is, I'm taking that class. It's pretty cool. The teacher is great. Very, very informal with us and talks with us. I mean, it kind of comes off as like one of those what is it? The people who are trying to be hip with the kids, like kind of like an Elon Musk-like figure, but not as egotistic and stuff. So it's very interesting. We learn about like gender theory and other like new world like sociological concepts in there and how to apply them to game making. And it's the only class where I have to buy games to actually do the class because I have to we've been playing Never Alone, What Remains of Edith Finch, Firewatch, Next is Baba Is You, and we have to play those and write blogs on them. So those are pretty cool. But my point with that is that since they're class materials, I have to use my scholarship to buy that. So I have successfully used the system to buy video games with my scholarship, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. Who knows? Okay, so that's basically the lineup for my current class. 6 classes. That is about, I think, 21 hours I'm taking right now. A lot of people are like, oh man, 21 hours? Are you insane? That's going to be a lot. I actually don't think it's that bad right now. I'm in rather simple classes. I don't think these are completely hard. I mean, they're 2,000, 3,000 level courses. None of them are like 4,000 levels, so I'm not concerned about those as much right now. There's a lot of homework. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of homework. But it's not as much homework as I thought it'd be. In fact, I've had a lot more homework in high school when I was doing my AP courses. Those AP courses are hellish. Let me tell you, those AP courses are awful. Like stuff like AP Biology. I got like a 20-page packet every week for that class. That was awful. And then I'm going here and it's like, oh yeah, for discrete, you're gonna get like 50 problems per week, and you choose 3 of those to do. Just 3 of them. Only had to do 3 of them. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's considerably better than a 20-page packet. So, I mean, I've been through worse. So, I'm not going to complain about that too much. So, now the natural question is, well, what's next semester? I mean, we're already halfway through the semester. Barely hanging on to my A's, but we're doing that. So, what's next semester? Well, of course, we're going to do game design too. I mean, why not? That will go more into the art pipeline, in which I'm not as fairly knowledgeable in. I mean, if you've seen my channel, you probably know that I do like a little bit. I dabble a little bit in art, but no way would I say I'm good at it. I mean, I'm fairly decent, but I am not like a Picasso. I'm not even like on the levels of like those Instagram artists that get like 50 likes per post. When I post to Instagram, it's like Betty White threatening to kill you. So I mean, it's not. I'm not there yet. And I would really like to learn how to make those assets for video games, especially since, I thought about becoming a game designer, but, that's a different story. So Game Design 2 is one of the first things that come up on my list for classes. So what else? Well, what I did not say about this semester is that I actually officially have obtained my mathematics minor. So that's 1 degree down, or I guess it's not a degree, but 1 thing in my degree down. So the only math classes I have to take now is specifically for computer science, and I only have 1, and it's combinatorics. That's like probability crap, I think. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then I have database management. So that's going to be like, I don't know, just like storing data. The person who's teaching that, actually, it's a very fun fact. She is the wife of one of my favorite teachers of all time. His name is John Gouch. Wonderful guy, really knowledgeable in his study, does a lot of graphics stuff with C++, and his name's John Gouch. And, his wife, she created a search engine before Google did. Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, a lot of people, like a lot of advanced coders may like shrug that off, or a lot of people who don't know what that is may be just like, I don't understand the significance of that, but I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to make me impressed. So, awesome. And she's teaching the database management class, which is kind of like a springboard into her, like, search engine class, which I think is pretty cool. Like, you build your own search engine. Making your own Google. It's not going to be as good as Google, but you're making your own Google. That's pretty cool. Right? So I'm taking that class. It's a required course for me. Then I'm taking engineering and statistics, another required course. I've heard it's horrible. It's basically like Excel, a class. So I who would want to do that, really? I mean, unless you really like Excel. No, I mean, no insult to you. I'm just not personally a fan of Excel, especially for an entire semester's worth of class time. Then we have algorithms. It's exactly as it sounds. You code algorithms. Sorry if I can't give you a more detailed description. I mean, I haven't taken the classes yet, so I can't really speak on them. And then we have computer networks. What do you think that one's about? Hint, it's about computers networking. It's about how they connect to each other. So that would be pretty cool. There was a different class I was going to take. It was called operating systems, but I can't take that one because it kind of collides with my game design class. I'm not giving up my game design class. So. And then finally, I think this one's the coolest. It's a 1-hour course, and it only happens for half the semester. But it's called the Science of Chocolate. And that was a pause for you to gasp or to clap or anything. The Science of Chocolate is just, I mean, you learn about how chocolate's created, how it's produced, how it's just kind of marketed, and then you learn how, how do you get it to taste better? I don't even know if there's a tasting portion to it. Who knows? They have an honors version too. I don't know what that entails. Usually when you have an honors class here, it's you have to do an extra project. Do I synthesize my own chocolate? Do I write a report about chocolate? Maybe I compare chocolate bars. I don't know what that means. So I think that would be a pretty cool course. I mean, it's 1 week. It's 1 hour, 8 weeks. I don't think it's a horrible deal. I mean, I'm not paying for it, so I don't really care. But that'll be interesting. And they have a wine course that's kind of like it too. But I'm a very big alcohol fan. I don't like the taste of it. I certainly don't like the smell of it. It's awful. So chocolate, the Science of Chocolate, it is. That's what we're gonna do. And a lot of people think it's a useless class, and it probably is. But I don't think it's useless if you enjoy it. And I mean, my mom, she was like, yeah, go take it. I mean, it'll be fun. And I mean, I agree. I'm here only at college because I want to have fun. I mean, I'm getting a degree too, so I can get to work, but I'm only going to work because it's fun. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of other ways to make money nowadays, where you don't need a degree. So the question is, why are you coming here to get a degree? It's because I want to have fun with my life. I don't want to sit at a job that I'm going to be unhappy with. I want to sit at a job where I'm coding because I like coding. So why would I make it counterproductive to have not fun at college when my entire point of being here is to have fun? So that's kind of my approach to it. So I'm also going to take summer classes. Why am I taking summer classes? Am I behind? No, I'm not behind. I want to take summer classes so I can have more opportunities to take classes during non-summer portions. Because, there's only a few classes you can take during the summer, and they're very squished together because it's faster than usual. And I'm going to take those classes during the summer because I want to take more and more major specific classes. I could take graphics with John Gouch. I would love to take graphics with John Gouch. John Gouch is a god. He's a saint. This guy, I mean, you guys probably don't know have any idea what he's like, but I guarantee you he's a very great, probably one of the best computer science teachers. In fact, I don't know if any of you know how harsh Rate My Professor is, but in Rate My Professor, usually people are getting 2.5s out of 5s. That's like an F. That's a failing grade. My other teachers, they're getting 1s. Gouch has a 5 out of 5. He has nearly a perfect score. I mean, it's so close to a 5 that they round it up on the website. To me, that's insane. It'd be so well liked that you almost have a perfect score on a review website. That's insane. So yeah, I'm glad to be taking it with him. That's awesome. So that basically concludes that part of my recap of my sophomore year. What's going to happen? Now the next question is, where are you living? I would have loved to live on campus. If you don't know, I go to the University of Arkansas. And the University of Arkansas, like many other colleges right now, are experiencing an influx of freshmen that they did not foresee. And my question is, what do you mean you didn't foresee it? That sounds like a load of bullcrap. I mean, you didn't foresee... I mean, you can not foresee the numbers, but you let those people in. I mean, you accepted all their applications. So what do you mean you didn't foresee it? You didn't foresee letting them all in? I mean, you had the cap. You could have capped it off, but no, we didn't really foresee it. So they gave all the freshmen the on-campus housing, and they kicked off all the upperclassmen. I mean, they left a few more on. If you really put in an application, I really complain, but I got an apartment complex off. It's about a 25 minute away from campus. Apartment complex, and I live with 3 of my friends. I made a lot of friends during my freshman year, so I live with 3 of them, and yeah, that's kind of my current living situation right now. I mean, I would hate living with myself. I don't know about my dorm mates, but I would hate living with myself. I am dirty, I am messy, and Windows security is popping up. I am dirty, I'm messy, and I am lazy. So I can't imagine living with me and being like, oh god, he just left his laptop sitting out on the couch. What am I going to do now? How am I not going to yell at him today? So, I mean, but they deal with it somehow. I don't know how, but they deal with it. And I got like 8 other friends who live across the same apartment community as me. So I mean, I have a lot of people I can talk to, and thank God. I mean, just look at me talking at this mic, or I guess listen to me talk to this mic. It's been 27 minutes, pure 27 minutes of me talking to this mic, all in a room by myself. Could you imagine what I would do if I had other people with me? I would talk to them until they got sick with me. I talk to them until they get sick of me. That's not even like an option. You either get sick of me, or I pass out from like exhaustion. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my living situation right now. And I want to reiterate over something because I wanted to say it, but I kind of forgot. That's one thing about not having a script, is that you might forget something while you're trying to say it. But a lot of people are really blaming the freshmen right now for the housing crisis. And I want to say, no, the freshmen are not at fault. They just wanted to go to college. I don't blame them. I want to go to college. I'm here because I want to go to college. It is the university's fault that they did not cap it and cap out the amount of people they took in. That is not the freshman's fault. That's the university's fault. And I always imagine that if anybody ever asked me about a recommendation for a university, if they're in Arkansas, I have to recommend the University of Arkansas, because we don't have a lot of good schools here. And I know a lot of people in the comments, or people who know me in real life, will come up to me and say, oh, no, it's very good compared to other schools. And I'm like, yeah, and probably in Arkansas. But I mean, if you look at our scores and our statistics across the United States, it's awful. It's really, really bad. And I mean, it's going to be my best recommendation for the University of or for the state of Arkansas, but I am going to talk so bad about it. I really do not like this place. I mean, I like it. I shouldn't say I don't like it. I don't like how this place is ran. So that's my spiel on the whole living situation. Time for another sip of water. Okay, so what else? Let's go back to paradigms. So, like I mentioned earlier in this video, I do have a little gripe about it. So in paradigms, we have this system where you create a Java file in VS Code and you submit it. And when you submit it, you have to name the file something, like you do most files. And they want you to name it a specific thing because they have like a executable that unzips all the files and just basically checks it to see if all the files are there. And usually these projects take if you're really, really good at Java, it'll take you 3 to 4 hours. And if you have no experience in Java, it may take you a day. Maybe even 2 days. I mean, they give 2 weeks on these projects because, they're not expecting you to work on it constantly. You have 4 other classes. I mean, you have a lot of classes. It's egotistical when teachers think that you're the only class and that they're the most important thing in your life. So it's very nice for them to do that. But anyways, I have to work on this project, and they want you to name it assignment 2. So what do? I name it assignment space 2 on accident. So it's the same thing, but I accidentally put a space between assignment and 2. I got counted 90% off on that project. Whoa, hey, why did I get counted off 90% here? What's that about? Oh, well, you named your file wrong. I mean, it was supposed to be named assignment 2, and we did say that at the very, very bottom of the assignment page. So, you had no reason to, miscall it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I just, I don't know if 90% is very accurate to what I did, because the rest of the program ran, right? Is there any issues with it? Oh, yeah, the program ran fine. I mean, you managed to do everything right. The program runs perfectly. Just the assignment name's kind of off. I was like, oh, so that counts off for 90%. And they're like, yes, absolutely. And I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you for grading it, but I'm just going to go talk to the teacher of this class. I'm like, hey, so that 90% off, and she's like, yep, that's what you get. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, you should have read the directions a bit more. I was like, okay, I'm not innocent here, but 90% is kind of, that's kind of a loony. You're like a lunatic, right? And I mean, one of my friends, the first time they did it on their first project, they got counted off 20%, and I was like, wow, 20%, I mean, that's kind of harsh, but you know what, I mean, it's not horrible. I mean, it's from a 100 to a B. I mean, that's pretty harsh, but that's more reasonable than a lunatic amount of 90%. And so I was like, well, why do you get counted off 20%? She's like, well, you know, it's like, every project has its own rubric, so, you know, if you do it on the first one, it's only 20%, if you do it on the second one, it's only 90%. Here's the problem with that. So, she has what's called a double jeopardy policy. So, I mean, your assignments are not going to be graded. She is very slow at grading. Not that I blame her, she has like 150 students, that's a lot of students. But, she's very slow at grading. So, if you have an assignment, you just, you had to wait on it. And so when you're doing your second project, your first project hasn't come back yet. So if you had something wrong with the first project, and you accidentally make the same mistake on the second project, she doesn't expect you to be counted off again. And that's a very nice and reasonable conclusion. I mean, like, you don't want to count off your students for something that they didn't know they were doing wrong until the next assignment, when they figured out they were doing it wrong. So it's a very reasonable double jeopardy policy. Here's a problem with that. So let's say that let's use my friend's example. So he messed up on both, right? So he gets a 20% off on the first one, and on the second one he gets 100, because I mean, it's a double jeopardy. He named his file correct, and I mean, it's fine because he didn't know about it last time. I named my file correctly in the first one, and then the second one I just kind of forgot. It escaped my mind. So despite messing up once, instead of twice, I get counted off 90%. So my friend gets an 80 and 100, and I get 100 and a 10. So, that, I don't know, that seems kind of, unbalanced there. I really don't know. And it's not any issue to my friend, it's just, I don't think that the rules of how the classroom work is very, I don't know, it's just not very conducive to learning. So, and you know, she has a regrade policy. So once per semester, you can send in a thing to regrade. You get counted off 10% because, you know, it's late. But, you can send in a thing to regrade. And I did send in my thing to regrade, and I got a 90% back. And that's all good and well. But what if I needed that regrade for something else, for something that actually didn't work? I mean, I feel like using it on something where, like, the only thing I changed was a space? I mean, come on, that's kind of, you know, it's kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, again, I called up my dad, and I was telling him about this, and he seemed to disagree. He was like, well, you know, in a big company, if you submit a file wrong, I mean, they're gonna probably penalize you harshly. And I'm like, well, in a company, it'd probably only take 5 seconds to change the file, wouldn't it? I mean, usually you have like a lot of departments to go through. If something like that gets out, I mean, it's not just my fault. It's like the people who didn't look over the software's fault too. I mean, I don't want to make a mistake like that, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's like, it doesn't take that long to fix. And, and if I'm spending, I don't know, 2 days worth of time on this project, and it takes the teacher, I don't know, 5 seconds to fix my mistake, not saying that there should be no penalty, but the penalty shouldn't be worth more than half the grade of that project. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think that's a little bit weird, a little bit loony. So that's my gripe on that one. Awesome. We are half an hour in, and we have gotten about halfway through my list of things we want to talk about. And so this is a great intermission to remind all of you that I have no direction in this. And so if you hear me say and pause a lot and start to take a sip of water like I'm doing right now, then you'll I apologize. I mean, you sat here watching this video. That's on you. Sorry about that, but you can click away if you want. So now what? What else did we learn in Paradigms? Well, we learned how to make Java, and I would just like to say Java is not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm not really. I mean, it's not horrible. I'd much prefer C++. To me, I just really like the straightforward nature of C++, where everything is like, I don't know. In Java, everything's an object, and when everything's an object, it's much harder to deal with. In C++, that's not the case. C++, if something is an object, it's an object. You can do whatever you want to an object and just object it. I mean, if you want to do something that's not with an object, then good, you don't have to do that in C++. In Java, it's like, okay, everything's an object, and you have to deal with that. So, awesome. And then, now we're diving into JavaScript, making our own little website. We have to make a website about something that we find. We have to make like a quiz on a website about something we find interesting. It's not going to be hard. So, I mean, that'll be interesting. I never really delved into HTML or JavaScript or any, like, website-based language. And my teacher, she is very adamant on the fact that HTML is not a programming language, it's a markup language. And she says stuff like, if you call HTML a language, it's like saying that you speak in cursive. It doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. Not my words. That was her words. So don't like go into the comments yelling at me. I mean, if you want to go into the comments and put your own opinion down, that's fine. But I am not the root of all evil here. Not that I'm saying that statement is evil. I'm just gonna quit here before I make enemies out of whoever sees this video and feels strongly about the HTML debate. So what about my game design class? What's happening in there? Well, we're reading a lot of the Odyssey. Isn't that awesome? I hate the Odyssey. I don't really like Greek literature. I should say that. A lot of people do. They're like, oh man, it's so awesome. I mean, I like Greek mythology to an extent, but wow, Odysseus, he traveled the seas and he killed something. And then he traveled the seas again and he killed something. And he traveled the seas again and he killed something. He traveled the seas and now he's having sex with a woman. And now he's traveling the seas and he's killing something again. And now he has sex with another woman. Oh, but he feels bad because he has to go back to his wife. Okay, let's travel the seas again. And then again. And then to me, it's just not one of my favorite genres. So, I mean, I'm not very fond of the fact that our games have to be all inspired by the Odyssey, but I'm doing that. And the game I'm working on right now is a first-person shooter. So, you're Odysseus shooting down thought bubbles with a spear, and you say the thought bubbles in real life, you kind of like lying to people. That's in his mind. So it goes out of his mind, and he's like, after you choose what you want to say by shooting it, you're like, look at the time, I have to go. And the person's like, the time? You don't have a watch. Hey pal, where are you going at? You don't have a watch. And you know that's going to be a little bit suspicious. A little suspicious. So it's just kind of like balancing your lies and stuff. And that's basically what my game's about. So that's going to be awesome. That's going to be great. Not very fond of it. Like I said, I am currently procrastinating that by making this video, this podcast. So yeah, awesome. What else is there? Let me talk about the current retro gaming obsession I have. So, I bought a Super Nintendo Entertainment System last year. And why did I buy it? Because I was sitting on a lot of money, and I had been saving up. My parents have given me. I earned some of it from freelancing and just odd jobs. I've been doing studies around campus, and I'll get to that study in a minute. We'll get to that. But there was a thing I saw on eBay, and I was like, ooh, a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I think it would be kind of cool if I bought that. And before I knew it, my thumb had already pressed the buy button. So yeah, don't exactly give me full access to shopping. I'm not a very impulsive shopper. I can hold my ground. But I went on a little bit of a spending spree. I mean, I spent like $120 on just some SNES games and the SNES itself, and played some with my friends. I feel like it was well worth it. I had a lot of fun, and that's actually how I discovered Puyo Puyo, which we play a lot of in this household. It's like the mascot of our gaming obsession. That and anime, but we'll get into that in a minute. So I've been doing a lot of retro gaming. I also bought recently a old Wii, one of those ones that can play GameCube games, and I'm using that to get into hacking. I'm homebrewing the Wii so that I can mod it, get free games, just try to play it. It helped me with my data mining skills, my GitHub skills, because I've never used GitHub before. Well, a shock is not a shock. It's a nerdy teenager who's really interested in computer science who doesn't know how GitHub works. Yeah, I feel kind of embarrassed about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, people will talk about GitHub repositories, and I'm like, oh yeah, those words. Yeah, I mean, I know vaguely of what you're talking about. I'm not very good. I mean, I love computer science, but I'm not good with it. I am not good at all. That's why I'm taking courses about it. So I'm gonna have to learn on my own, and I've been doing more to learn on my own. That's actually why I've been, homebrewing. It's to help me learn about that stuff. And in terms of that, I started playing SNES games, and I was like, man, it would be really cool if I made my own NES game. So I started looking into assembly, and computer organization, the current course, and about the CPUs and stuff. I'm learning assembly, and for viewers who don't know, or for me in the future who doesn't know, because I don't know anybody who would go 41 minutes in this video. If you have, congratulations to you, awesome. But for those who don't know, it's like, it's the lowest level language you can do. What does that mean? Well, it means that when you talk in English to a computer, the computer is not going to understand it. When you say stuff in English, a human can understand it. So when you talk in English, humans completely understand you. If you talk in binary, computers completely understand you. Humans will not, unless you're like, I don't know, Einstein. I mean, I don't really think Einstein could do it. You get my point. Humans are not going to understand that binary, but computers will understand that binary perfectly. So what we had to do is we had to balance it, and we had to make stuff like Python, which is like halfway in between. If you went up to say something to Python, if you spoke to somebody in Python, you're going to get like a little confused reaction, but they might be able to understand or follow some of what you're saying, the logic behind it. If you say it to a computer, I mean, they'll understand what you're saying. They have to interpret that though, so they'll turn Python into C++. And C++, if you say that to somebody, they may be able to follow. It's going to be really harder, or it's going to be much harder than Python to follow, but they can still follow it. And the computer can understand a little bit better, but they still have to decompile that too. So what do they decompile that into? They turn it into assembly. And assembly is, it's very hard to read, but computers can read it almost perfectly. Because all you have to do from the assembly step is you turn the assembly immediately into binary. And then that's how the computer reads it. And then it can go into like electrical circuits and stuff. But that's the point. I'm learning how to do assembly, which is one of the harder programming languages. And I'm using it to create an NES game. So I've been learning how to do 6502. That's the type of assembly it is. So I can create like those old school games. And then, I've been trying to take on other things like how to solder and stuff. And I want to create eventually from scratch like a little NES game. I even tried to I want to do it completely from scratch. See if I can do that. The circuit board's going to be a little bit hard. I don't know if that's possible to make from scratch. I'm not very knowledgeable in those things, but I'm going to try to look into it. And I also wanted to make the plastic from scratch, and that was much harder than I thought, but I have been looking into certain like YouTube videos and online tutorials on how to make your own plastic. I mean, it's not going to be your average like PCB, like polyethylene plastic, but it's going to be some type of plastic. It's going to be a plastic container of some sort. So I think that will be cool, and then, if that doesn't work out, I can just buy a cartridge. I think it's cool enough that I could code like an assembly NES game. I'm not there yet, but I want to be there. That's like one of my personal projects. I have several personal projects, and we'll get into one of those later, but I mean, there's several personal projects I want to work on. So that's kind of been my retro gaming session right now. Going back to that Wii I was talking about that I bought. There was a reason I brought that up. It's because when I bought it, it was like, I don't know, $50. And if you don't know, $50 for a Wii plus the controller, that is a great deal. So I got that, and I feel like I was scammed. The reviewer had like perfect reviews. But first of all, I feel like if you sell something that has been used, you should tell this whoever you're selling it to that it's been used by a smoker. It smelled awful. So I had to fix that. I soaked it in baking soda. That's a good trick that if you don't know, you can use. Put stuff in baking soda that smells like smoke, because that will actually clear some of it out. And then I had to go in and I had to change the parental controls, because some person decided to, I guess, like lock little Timmy out of it and make it so that I couldn't hack it. So I had to find a tool to undo that. And now I have learned that it's jammed. So what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to get one of my friends, one of my roommates, who's an electrical engineer. He's really into retro consoles. He's going to have to go get one of his special tools, because Nintendo, being the people they are, didn't want you really to go into the software or the hardware and really fiddle around with it. So they made it with a very obscure, esoteric screw called a tri-wing. So I'm going to have to get a tri-ring screwdriver, open it up, figure out what's jamming it, and then do that myself. Needless to say, I'm not very happy of the state it was in. I sent them a strongly worded email. They haven't replied back, so I'm just going to leave a negative review on eBay. But, that's what I get for trusting, eBay so much. But, so I mean, I'll learn how the inside of the Wii works, so I guess that's a good thing for me. Who knows? Maybe it's an opportunity to learn. What else are my other projects am I working? I mentioned that. Well, I am currently learning how to do graphics in C++. Much harder than it seems. We take a lot for granted on computers. When you see little funny graphics, little funny pictures on your screen, you're just like, ooh, that was really funny. I really like those graphics. Behind the scenes, it's awful. It's hell. You have to do, I had to go through several libraries to see which one was right for me. I ended up using SFML, and that has a lot going behind the scenes. So I'm going to have to reverse engineer that. What I eventually want to create is a visual novel. So for anybody who doesn't know, you should know, but a visual novel is exactly what it sounds like. It's a novel that has visual graphics, and it's usually on a computer screen. And, you can read through it, you can click. Sometimes they have alternate routes. You can choose your own adventure. A visual novel would be like a 2D like book version of like 3D point and clicks, like Life is Strange. That would be like a 2D novel equivalent. Or Detroit Become Human, one of those games. So that's what I'm kind of making right now. But it's not just any visual novel. I want to create a visual novel comic parser. So what that means is that you write a script up. This is a very, very, very simplified explanation, but I have more details behind the scenes. So I might do a video on it. But I have a sort of like parser that goes through, and you write a script up. You can talk about the emotions, how the characters move, and the computer will read through that and interpret that, and it'll be like, oh, well, you said that this sprite's on screen, and the sprite is angry, so this character must be angry, so I'll go through and I'll find the picture where it looks like they're angry and then display that on screen. So essentially what you can do is you can create these comic-like visual novels purely from scripts. And I mean, there's probably stuff that does that already, but how cool is it to make it yourself? Yeah, I know. I waste time by doing things that I'm too stubborn to rely on pre-built things to do, especially when they're way, way more efficient than mine. But how cool is it to say you've made something yourself, right? It's like an accomplishment. So that's one of my things. There's I have like a lot of comics that I want to do. There's like a Never End. So funny enough, the channel name Never End comes from one of my comic ideas I had, which is where it's like a psychic boy, and the psychic boy has all these like super powerful powers, and he gets into a lot of hijinks with like aliens and supernatural deities and entities, and he has to kind of expose them. But as he goes on, he meets this like this kind of weird demon-like thing that has like this overall overarching plan, and that kind of gets him into a lot of weird timeline shenanigans and time travel stuff. But there's a lot to the lore that I have like printed out. Like I said, I am not a professional artist. I am not a professional writer. I just like doing these things because I think it's interesting to make your own worlds. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And I have another one like Shaunaverse. Shaunaverse is about a boy named Sean, and he has the power to bend reality. And he just kind of goes along with everybody else. He's kind of going into goofy adventures, more like almost like a action sitcom. And he has friends who have all these crazy powers, like psychic powers. He has a friend who controls fire, and but he's the only human there. Why? Well, he doesn't know. That's the whole journey. He's wondering. He woke up with amnesia in the forest. Like, where did he come from? So that the whole comic explores that. And I have like several other series. I have a series where it's like a kid gets trapped in this government facility with all these monsters and stuff. I have one about like a bunch of like useless, like a bunch of people with useless superpowers gets involved with a government conspiracy, and they try to take over the world. I feel like there's a lot of like interesting ideas I have for comics and stuff that I want to do using this parser. So I think that in the long run, I don't know if I'm going to stick with C++. I might move to Python, something that might be easier. But I do want to share these comics one day. What else? What else have I been doing? Well, I also want to do some coding challenges, get ready for an interview and stuff. But besides that, nothing else really that involved in it. Like I said, I have been trying to get money. So let me go into the money story, that specifically the study that I did on campus. So let me start off by saying that I am not a very optimistic person. I mean, I am optimistic, I should say. I'm not a very kind person, I guess you could say. I'm very misanthropic. I hate humanity. I think that humanity, it's filled with douchebags, typically. And I hear a lot of people like, "Oh man, you should be a little bit more, a bit more nice to people. You should be a bit more optimistic in humanity." It's not that I'm mean to people. Well, I guess I can, but I'm not like mean to strangers. And it's just it's just something that I think that humanity could be mean sometimes, and I think that's a fairly like accurate thing. But I went in and I did a study, and I don't know if you know anything about the prisoner's dilemma, but it's kind of like that. For those who don't know, you'll find out soon. It's an economic study, and you don't lose any money technically. So you start off with $0, right? And they give you what's called ECUs, and that's called educational credit units. And that basically means it's gamifying the money almost. So you have money, but those points can be taken away or given to you, and so you want to get more ECUs, so you get paid more. So what do? Well, first we do a bonding activity. We have to make a triangle together. We have to put together a triangle, and we each have our own triangle, and we have to exchange pieces and stuff. And the more triangles you get to put together, everybody gets money. So it's in your best interest to cooperate. So the next thing was you have a formula of sorts, and basically you can keep all of your money, or you can put some of your money into the pot. And if it goes into the pot, it multiplies by 0.5 and is given out to everybody. Now, it doesn't sound good, but if everybody puts their money into the pot, that means everybody gets 100 or a double amount given back to them. That's 200%, because there's 4 of us. It's 200%. So that's pretty good. I mean, if everybody puts their money into the pot, that's 200%. I mean, you can keep yours, but it's very, I mean, it's better if everybody cooperates, because you can get 200%. If somebody, let's say only 3 people put theirs in, well, it's 150% back, and somebody keeps their 100%, then it does technically work out better for them, because they get 250%. But, I mean, don't you want everybody to get 200%? It's the best, it's going to put the most of money out into the economy. So, being me, I was like, you know what, people are right, maybe I should have a little bit more faith in people. So, I do that. And that was a mistake. I put nearly all my money into the pot, and we get the results back, and I've been screwed over immensely. A lot of people only put 20% of their money in, so I kind of got screwed over in that department. And we have more and more stuff like that. The average was $20, and I ended up with 19. You know, that doesn't sound bad. Like, the average is 20. No, that's usually the minimum average. You're gonna at least walk out with 20. I walked off with one below the average. Most people in there are probably walking off with stuff like $25 to $30. And you know, it's not that big of a deal, but I was kind of mad, to say the least. I had some very strong curse words to share with them, but I held back. And it's just a game. I shouldn't get worked up, but I was kind of a little angry that I got $10 because it took an hour. I want to get as much money out of there as possible, but whatever. So that was that story. I don't have much left here. Basically 3 more things. What else have I been doing? Well, I've been watching a lot of anime. If you don't know what an anime is, wow, I don't know why an adult in their 40s is watching this. But an anime is a Japanese cartoon, to say in the easiest way that a 40-year-old might understand. Essentially, we've been watching anime. Which ones have we been watching? We've been watching Chainsaw Man. That one's pretty good. I really like the intros and the outros. They have become quickly some of my favorite songs on my playlist. A lot of people do not like the protagonist right now. So, to give a little brief overview, in anime, it's very common for the hero of our story to have a very lofty goal. They're like, I want to save the world. I want to give world peace. I want to end this killing and culling. And you know, it's great to have heroes like that as role models. But sometimes it's not very realistic. I mean, one man to stop all of that. I mean, it can be done. Don't get me wrong. I mean, in the best case scenario, it can be done. But sometimes you want stuff that's more grounded in reality. And Chainsaw Man does just that. We have a hero who has the ability to turn his hands and head into a chainsaw. Just the most simplest way to describe that. And what is his goal? Well, he's been in poverty his whole life. So his only goal is to live a great life. And his main goal is to, how he puts it, cop a feel. And what does that mean? He wants to touch someone's boobs. Whose boobs? Any woman's boobs. I mean, his mom's dead, so he doesn't have any relatives. As long as he gets to touch a person's boobs, that's fine with him. So we get a story around this person who is our hero, but maybe he doesn't have the most morally in-line incentive for his his heroic deeds. I mean, that's fine. It's an interesting take on the heroic genre, especially in something that he likes to use the same tropes in anime. What else do we have? Speaking of deconstructions of anime, I've also been rewatching Mob Psycho. Why have I been rewatching Mob Psycho? Because I told my friend to get into it, and I wanted to see his reaction to it. Mob Psycho is about a boy with psychic powers. He's basically a god in a human's body, and he doesn't like using his powers. He'd rather just build up muscles and impress women, because women aren't very impressed with him. And I think it's a very good story. It kind of deconstructs oh man, the hero is so strong, and he can show everybody how strong he is. But this person, he doesn't care how people view his psychic powers, because he views psychic powers like anything else. He views it as swimming or running or tennis playing. It's just a normal thing to him. And the whole show kind of revolves around it. Season 3 has come out. It's probably one of my favorite animes of all time. It's tied with Attack on Titan as my favorite anime of all time. It's a very interesting story. Very heart-touching. I think it has made me cry like once. But I do think that it's a very interesting story. And if you haven't watched it, you should probably try it. It's a very good thing. It's on Crunchyroll. There have been kind of controversies regarding like the union state of things in the dub department, but that's not important. What's important is that it's a very good story, and that if you haven't watched it, you should probably do that, because it's a very good thing for people who don't traditionally like anime, because anime does have a lot of things that here in America that are just kind of like viewed as weird, like very perverted fantasies. Mob Psycho doesn't have that. Chainsaw Man kind of does, but that's because our hero isn't very moral. But Mob Psycho doesn't have that. So I think it's a very interesting take. It's very interesting. What else do we have? Well, I also have been watching Spy Families. What's Spy Family? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a family, but they each have their secret identities. One of them is a spy. That's the dad. One of them is an assassin who kills people mercilessly. That's the mom. They're not really. They only got married so they wouldn't get. It's kind of like set in this like almost like authoritarian government space where if you're any bit suspicious and not upholding the traditional values like having a family or having a child, going to work and doing your service as a citizen, you'll be considered a spy and you'll be executed. It's one of those very dark authoritarian government-like things. And so they married each other. They don't actually love each other, but they kind of do. I mean, I ship them together. Whatever. I mean, everybody does. But it's one of those things where it's like they're married for each other for the benefits. And then we have the little daughter who everybody loves. Her name's Anya, and she's a psychic. She can read people's minds, and she's horrible at what she does, but she has to do it to get into this schoolmate's house. Very prestigious school that she has to lie her way in. But they get into this boy's house whose dad is orchestrating this war, and they have to assassinate him. And so I think it's a very interesting story. It's an interesting mix between this very dramatic plot and a slice of life, which is kind of like a sitcom, but for people who don't like laugh tracks. So those are what we've kind of been watching, and I think that's been interesting. What else? Well, I have also been working on another personal project. I didn't mention this earlier, but it is a 9/11 video. I know what you're thinking, because this video is probably coming out somewhere in November. Why are you releasing a 9/11 video now? Well, that's a great question, because it was actually supposed to come out on 9/11. And then I was just like, well, I couldn't get to it. I had a lot of homework. And I probably wouldn't have even gotten it out if I did it on time, because it's 40 minutes worth of footage. What is it about? It's about a song that I really like. It's Tally Hall's sister band, Miracle Musical's song, Variations on a Cloud. It's a very interesting song. There are a lot of deep meanings behind it, and I feel like there's not really a lot of people who have gone line by line. It's part of a new series I do where I dissect art, because I do a lot of technology videos, but I want to do some more art-centric videos, and so expect that to be out soon. I want to do like a video about that. What other videos do I want to make? Well, I want to do some stuff involving my comic. I wanted to get into animation a little bit. I don't know animation, but I've heard that Blender has a unique 2D animation program, so I might look into that. And I mean, in terms of like anything else, I kind of want to hear what you guys want to see. I mean, I don't have a lot of subscribers, so and I mean, if you are a subscriber, you probably didn't watch all the way up to an hour and 1 minute worth of this video. But if you did, wow, that's insane. Secondly, thank you, I guess. But I would like to hear your opinions on what you would like to see in the future. I mean, I would love to make more videos over just random bullcrap. So if you guys think of anything, just tell me. I would like to make even those flash fact videos. There's an interesting story there about how I got like a cease and desist, like a very informal from for one of mine, the Cornbread Mafia. Yeah. Let's just say that the daughter of the head honcho of the Cornbread Mafia was not very fond of one of my statements in that video. It was because I had gotten some facts wrong, and I do apologize. But in that video, when I was researching it, the Wikipedia page, all the news articles, and the website itself said it was correlated to the Cornbread Mafia, but it wasn't. It was lying. So that's my bad. I'll probably go post a comment on that video soon, just so in case other people... That video actually had gained more traction than I thought it would. Anyways, that's basically all for this video. It's a very experimental video. It's one that's going to be very boring to watch, but a little less boring to listen to. Still kind of boring to listen to. It's my life. What more could you want from it? It's not very action-packed or informative. So, I thought it would be something interesting, maybe something I could just look back on and say, ooh, yeah, I remember that. That was kind of awful. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up this video now because it's an hour long. Insane. Anyways, see you guys, and I'll talk to you later.